Is Kyle Lowry a realistic option for the Chicago Bulls this offseason? One report that came out today says yes, and also says the Bulls are going to be big spenders in free agency this offseason. I'm Ross. This is Arturis Fan Club. You should be subscribed if you're not already, because we're making Bulls content every single day. I've got a lot of great stuff lined up coming up very soon, as well as some good stuff in this video, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. So there's a report out today from Matt Moore from the Action Network. He's an NBA insider, and he said something that we're not all shocked by. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. The Bulls are expected to be big spenders in the guard market this year in free agency. Nothing super shocking, nothing outlandish, nothing that caught me by surprise. I was a little surprised when I saw him mention Kyle Lowry by name as a player the Bulls are tied to. Put tied in quotation marks. Tied like Dennis Schroeder was tied to the Bulls. I don't fully buy it, but he's still out there. The name is still being dropped. The conversation appears to be happening. So when we look at what the Bulls could do this offseason, we've already talked about this in previous videos. Make sure to go check those out. I'll have links in the description for everything I talk about today. But in previous videos, we've talked about, obviously, Dennis Schroeder. We've talked about Lonzo Ball. We've talked a little bit about Spencer Dinwiddie, but mostly we've talked about what the Bulls can do this offseason to clear up cap space in order to be big spenders in free agency. The narrative has been that the Bulls are cap strapped. There's a lot of money being tied up in guys like Al-Farouq Aminu and Thaddeus Young and Tomas Satoransky, that it would prevent the Bulls from making a big splash in free agency this offseason. I have been one of the voices kind of trying to talk people down from that ledge, trying to educate people that no, there are many options the Bulls have this offseason in order to get out of some of those contracts. Tomas Satoransky is only guaranteed $5 million. Thaddeus Young can be waived and stretched. Al-Farouq Aminu can be waived and stretched. Actually, I think Thaddeus Young can actually just be waived and non-guaranteed any of that money remaining on his contract, which there's two plays there. The issue with waiving Thad Young and letting him go, obviously, is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine has a strong relationship with him. And not to mention, just we need front court depth. He had one of his best seasons so far in his career, in his long, illustrious career, just this past season, playing more of a playmaking role, point forward role. So Thad Young is a player I would love to keep around, potentially a candidate for maybe a release and a restructure. You let him go, but with the idea that, hey, we're going to restructure your contract. We'll do right by you. We'll give you some money, but we're going to stretch it out so that we can have some more cap space this offseason. So those two things, Thaddeus Young, Tomas Satoransky only having $5 million guaranteed. And then we talk about Al-Farouq Aminu, who's a player that is getting a lot of money that he's not going to be playing with. He was riding the bench pretty hard last season and was not looking great. So the money tied up in Al-Farouq Aminu is kind of a problem. Real quick, we can also talk about Ryan Arcidiacono. He can be released. He's on a team option, save like $3 million, something like that. But Al-Farouq Aminu is kind of the cash cow. He is taking up a large percentage of the cap, and he is not going to be playing. And I'm going to get my numbers right in front of me as I talk here so that I can give you guys a more accurate picture of what we're looking at. But with Al-Farouq Aminu, you can waive him and you can stretch that contract so that you can pay it out over the course of a few off seasons or a few seasons rather than just this season. So instead of looks like a $10 million cap hit, you can stretch that out and maybe do, like $2 million, $3 million here and there, which is an option, not the best option, obviously, because we're still talking about paying him. But back to Kyle Lowry, there's an interesting correlation here between the Chicago Bulls, New Orleans Pelicans, and one Kyle Lowry, who it appears is walking. By all accounts, he is leaving Toronto. They're in a rebuild. He's going to want around $25 million a year, which is a lot, especially at his age, but that's it. I mean, this is the last time at his age that he's going to be able to make that kind of money, and he's going to go for it. You can't fault him for it, but at the same time, we're talking long term for the Bulls. We want a point guard who's here to stay, pair with Zach LaVine. If we're going to go the veteran route, we're not trying to pay a guy 4 years, $25 million a year. That's going to take him right before his 40s. Kyle Lowry's 35 years old, guys. If you're paying him a 3-year, 4-year deal, That's a lot of money for a guy that probably won't be playing at that point. He might retire before then, but Kyle Lowry, you know, he's still a very good player. He probably wants to go to a contender, maybe a team like the Celtics that needs a point guard. That's an option. But in this same report, Matt Moore mentioned that Lowry is also being courted by the New Orleans Pelicans. So in my mind, you start thinking, well, the Bulls want Lonzo Ball. If the Pelicans get Kyle Lowry, Lonzo Ball is expendable. They'll probably be ready to move on from him. What would it take? Let's make a deal. What would it take for you guys to get Kyle Lowry? Say Kyle Lowry is interested in playing with Zion and Brandon Ingram. He likes the young talent there. He thinks that they can win. Okay. Kyle Lowry's going to the Pelicans. He wants to be there. You guys have contracts that you need to get rid of in order to pay Kyle Lowry. Someone like Eric Bledsoe. The Bulls have an expiring contract in Al-Farouq Aminu that they'd like to get rid of in order to sign Lonzo Ball. Let's make a deal. Could we potentially trade Al-Farouq Aminu to the Pelicans as an expiring contract and take on that horrid Eric Bledsoe contract in order to give Lonzo Ball the sign-in trade? Now, that would be a tough situation cap-wise for the rest of free agency, re-signing someone like Daniel Tice or, you know, looking for wing depth on the margins. That would be it. I don't have Eric Bledsoe's exact contract number in front of me, but it's not good. And we're also looking at the Zach LaVine contract extension, another video that I just did, which, you know, obviously we want to make sure Zach gets paid and gets locked up long term. So yeah, it looks like his cap hit is around $18.5 million, $19 million. It's not good. It's not good. It looks really bad. So if we wanted to go this route, it would be renouncing the rights to Thad Young, trading Al-Farouq Aminu, taking on Lonzo Ball, going above the cap to execute the sign-in trade, and then potentially next offseason is when the Zach LaVine contract extension would get done. Have to look to move Eric Bledsoe or waive and stretch his contract. Some sort of cap magic that I know AK and Mark Eversley are capable of, but this is just an option. I'm aware there's a lot of people out there that are like, steer clear of Eric Bledsoe. I'm fine with steering clear of Eric Bledsoe. I have been of the opinion for a long time that if we want to get Lonzo, we should sign him to a large offer sheet and avoid trading up any more assets to get him, any more assets that we already don't have to get him. That's my opinion. I like the idea also of potentially trading a future second to acquire another second round pick in this year's draft, or trading Tomas Satoransky for a late first round or another second round pick in this year's draft, which is a very stacked draft class. You can get out of the Tomas Satoransky contract and move on to free agency. So that's a lot of words to say. The title of this video, are the Bulls interested in Kyle Lowry? They might be. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's due diligence. I think you have to take a look at Kyle Lowry and say, like, hey, do you want to do a Chris Paul situation? Now, obviously, Chris Paul got traded and he's still on that large deal, but do you want to recreate the magic of Chris Paul going to Phoenix with this team and maybe take a veteran discount to come and play in Chicago, play alongside Team USA's very own Zach LaVine? Do you want to play with Patrick Williams, a young up-and-comer? Do you want to play with an all-star center in Nikola Vucevic? You know, at this point in your career, this could be a team that you could go to the finals with and cement your legacy. You got to have that conversation with him. But if he's looking for upwards of $25 million per year, the Bulls are out. The Bulls are out on $25 million per year on most players. Like Lonzo, that's even a stretch for him. And if we could lock up Lonzo for the foreseeable future, a young 24-year-old point guard for the foreseeable future at a cheaper rate than Kyle Lowry is looking for, you just got to do that. You just got to do it. You got to do it. It's just the truth. I like Kyle Lowry. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a winner. He plays winning basketball. But at the end of the day, the money is what's going to prevent the Bulls from making a move like that. Dennis Schroeder, you guys already know my opinion on that. I want to steer clear of Dennis Schroeder. But I'm okay with Kyle Lowry, Lonzo Ball, and Spencer Dinwiddie being the players we look at this offseason. It's important to mention Spencer Dinwiddie, too. He's interested in returning to Brooklyn because Brooklyn can pay him the most money. He said that in plain terms. He said that on his own. You guys can go search out the interview. He literally said, he's like, well, the Nets can give me the most money. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. That dude's all about his money. The Bulls probably are not going to pay Spencer Dinwiddie a bag, in my personal opinion. And same goes for Lonzo. I feel like Lonzo is kind of being... And this is the thing with restricted free agency, where like Lonzo could end up being his price could end up being more inflated because he is a restricted free agent. And this happens every offseason. We see it with restricted free agents all the time, where these guys, the team, rather, not the guy, but the team says, oh, we're not really interested in paying this guy, so you could sign him if you want. And then all these teams get in a bidding war and the price goes up. So when the incumbent team says, oh, we're not going to pay him anymore, they might be thinking, oh, we could get him at a discounted rate because no one's going to want to sign him, while the other teams end up the price because they're in a bidding war. It happened with Omer Ashik back in the day, if you guys remember. He was a restricted free agent, and what's called the poison pill was offered to him by the Houston Rockets, which is like a deal so sweet that the incumbent team will not match it. Or a deal so venomous, maybe, because it's the poison pill. That's what happened with Omer Ashik back in the day. For my old head Bulls fans, shout out to you guys. But that might end up happening with Lonzo. It might be a situation where a team like, New York, who seems to, in the latest report, seems to be out of the Lonzo sweepstakes, which I don't buy at all. I still think they want him, but they might, with all that cap space, might give him one of those contracts where it's like the Pelicans can't match. They're not going to match it. They don't want to. And the Bulls are like, all right, if you're going to pay him that much money, we're just going to let you overpay for the guy that you really, really want. I'm of the opinion, like I said, I'd like to give Lonzo Ball a nice fat offer sheet. I don't want to overpay necessarily. And that's when you get into that $25 million range where I start to go, I don't know. But I think anything between 20 and 25, I'd be happy with. 20 to 24, I'd be happy with. 25 is when you get to the territory of like, that's a lot of money for a guy that, has some deficiencies as a player, still at this point in his career, still developing, obviously, but it's a lot of money. Kyle Lowry, at least you feel a little better if you're like the Celtics, if you're able to make that trade or make a contract like that work. That you're ready to contend. You've got the players. You just need the point guard. That could work for them, which then again, it didn't when they acquired Kemba Walker. We thought it would, and then it didn't. But there's a lot of options out there for Kyle Lowry. I know he gets tied to the Lakers all the time. I guess I don't know how they're going to afford him, because from everything I've heard, Kyle Lowry is like ready for his last payday. And like I already said, the Bulls should take a look, have a conversation with him and ask him, like what would it take to maybe get you in the door? What's the number that we could get you in the door with, and try to talk him down from there. The Lakers, it's like, hey man, we'll give you the MLE, but that's like all we got. Like, how are the Lakers going to do that? I guess a sign-in trade potentially, but I mean, I don't know. This offseason is shaking up to be very, very interesting, especially in the guard market. And the Bulls are players. This is exciting. This is not something we have felt as Bulls fans in a long time, being players in the free agent market. We just traded for an all-star center, and now we're potentially going to be paying one of these free agent point guards, these free agent star point guards, a lot of money. This is a new time. Shout out once again to my old head Bulls fans. Last time we spent some money in free agency, I guess, was Pau Gasol. And before him, Carlos Boozer. It's been a long time, man. And even then, those were contracts where it's like, you missed out on the other guy, so you signed this guy. Like, you missed out on LeBron and D-Wade. Okay, we'll sign Carlos Boozer. You missed out on Carmelo Anthony. Okay, we'll sign Pau Gasol. Which the Gasol signing worked out. We should talk about that on another video. I have some plans to go back and review some of my favorite Bulls teams of years past. And that will be a fun discussion and a sad discussion, because it didn't end very well. But I think I've talked about this enough. Kyle Lowry to the Bulls is a possibility. I want them to have the conversation, but when it comes down to money, if he's going to hold firm at getting that bag, that last bag for his entire career, let's let someone else give it to him, and let's focus on maybe a younger guy like a Lonzo Ball or I guess a Spencer Dinwiddie. But I would rather pay Lonzo. I'd rather trade for DeJounte Murray before giving Spencer Dinwiddie a big contract. It scares me coming off an ACL injury like that. Also, just in general, has not been the best like, he hasn't been a huge upgrade over Lonzo Ball in his career. Very smart guy. He was on the Bulls at one point, which is funny that we're even talking about this. Fucking Garpax. But yeah, I think Kyle Lowry is a good option to have the conversation about. Not totally sold on throwing the bag at a 35-year-old who might just he might not even want to come to Chicago, frankly. Realistically, he might just want to go to the Lakers or the Celtics or a team like them to play and try to get a ring this year. Which, you ask me, Still think the Bulls have potential down the line, but it might be outside of his timeline. So thank you guys for watching once again. If you have an idea for a video, go ahead and hit that comment section. I'd love to hear it. I love taking advice. I love taking comments from everybody. I've been trying my best to respond to as many comments as I can, so I'll keep trying to do that. But if you have an idea, let me know. Definitely receptive to it. And make sure, if you haven't, you made it this long, 15 minutes in, you made it this long, you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Making videos all the damn time, having a lot of fun with it too. Thank you guys again for all the love and support. We will talk very, very soon.